Hannah, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us to talk about our innovation in education, is what I'm calling it. I've done a bit of an introduction already to tell people about what it is that we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. But what I wanted to do with you, as the architect behind this, is to understand a bit more about the project, about why it's been designed in the way that it has done. So, could you give us a little bit more about bring the design to life for us?
Hi Matt, and thank you for the Memusi Foundation for really bringing this design to life. Sure, I can kind of tell you a bit more about the design of the classroom and why it looks like it does. So the kind of fundamental aspect of this building is its kind of location in a hot, arid climate. So you can see the thermal mass in the gabion walls. So during the day, the sun will actually heat up these walls. And because the classroom is a space which is to be used during the day, it will keep the inside spaces a lot cooler. And you can actually see that as well with the roof raised off the walls, and that's to help airflow and cross ventilation. And also with the windows, you can see they're opposite each other. This will all help the hot air to move through the classroom and out to the surrounding environment. And keeping temperatures cooler during the day in the classroom is really important for the kids to be able to learn and concentrate effectively. And another aspect of this building is the idea of actually building community. So the process of construction, actually using rocks as infill into the walls, into the frame structure, is so that it can be built locally. And because of this, it has a very low embodied energy, which means that in terms of kind of an overall sustainability perspective, we're hoping that it will actually have a low kind of embodied carbon. And that's really important when you think of the kind of global impacts of climate change and this type of thing, which will have an impact in the Magadi region of Kenya.
That's brilliant. And I think absolutely the point that you were saying there on sustainability is such an important topic. I think the point that you've raised there about heat, Magadi is consistently over 40 degrees, between 40 and 50 degrees. It's a hot place. So I think having, absolutely right, that cool, comfortable environment is perfect. You've talked about the community aspect, which was one of the things that I mentioned to you in brief at the start around having the community involved. But one of the things that I said to you, I don't know whether I ever admitted this to you, but I said to you, I want you to design me a classroom that costs half of what I'm currently paying. I don't know that I ever expected that. I thought I'll push Hannah to limits. I was astonished when I sat down with the builder, and the builder told me how much it was going to be, and it was half of what I was paying. How did you manage that? How on earth have you managed to get the price as it is?
Well, I think real innovation comes when you have to be resourceful, and not only for the kind of kids in the region, but also as an architect to have that kind of challenge makes you think outside the box and to look at what you have in the environment. And something, when years ago when we'd been to the area, we'd noticed this kind of rocky landscape, and we wanted to use those elements actually in the building. And to do that, not only saved costs, but also kind of saved on embodied energy and importing materials, because it's such a remote area as well that there wasn't much infrastructure in terms of construction. So we have two elements in this building. We've got the prefabricated frame, and then we've got the infill. And the idea was to basically use what we had in the landscape and to work with that. And I'm really happy to see kind of throughout this process, it's actually been hitting those, that kind of specification that you wanted from the start. And that will hopefully allow the class and the children to actually invest the money in other things to support their education. So I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I regret now not saying, Hannah, can you design me a classroom that costs a quarter of what I've been paying?
That's the next one. Yeah.
I think, you know, one thing I've said to years to the community, how rich they are in a lot of ways. I mean, clearly there's people in abject poverty, but they're rich in so many ways. And from a resource point of view, we've got the sun, you know, so from a solar point of view, really beneficial. But now you've drawn something else here in how the environment is, the stones, the rocks that lay around there are absolutely, you know, the key thing that we're just using what's there, what's laying on the site already to build the walls as well. So it's incredible. It also saves transport. You know, we're not having lorries coming up and down as well. So that's it's fantastic. Really is fantastic. Hannah, thank you for joining us. Again, I could talk to you for hours about the work that you do, and I can't tell you how also excited I am about where this project's going to go, and I think really change education in Kenya. Certainly Kajiado, but I really hope and pray Kenya as well, and the rest of Africa. So thank you for being involved, Hannah, and thanks for giving an update to everyone listening in. Appreciated.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, and thanks everyone to your support in this project and for your future support. So
thanks, Hannah.
Thanks.